let's play a quick game of associations. I'll give you names of some famous athletes, and you think of the teams they played on in their primes. Bonus if you can think of names of some of their teammates or coaches that were part of their dynasties. Okay, here goes. When I say Michael Jordan, you say what? Chicago Bulls, right. You might easily add Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, or Phil Jackson. How about Babe Ruth? New York Yankees. You probably know of his teammate Lou Gehrig, too. Here's another easy one, Tom Brady. You guessed it, the New England Patriots. Randy Moss and Bill Belichick might also come to mind. When you think of it, bluegrass bands are a bit like sports teams, with members that become synonymous with their groups. Bluegrass fans who hear the name Kentucky Colonels will probably immediately think of Roland, Clarence, and Eric White. Country Gentlemen, Charlie Waller, John Duffy, and Eddie Adcock should roll right off their tongues. How about Newgrass Revival? Sam Bush and John Cowan might come to mind first. Maybe Bela Fleck too, but there's also Courtney Johnson who preceded him as the banjo player in the group. Switching banjo players when you think of it could be a lot like bringing in a new starting pitcher to your baseball team. These personnel changes come because both athletes and musicians can lose their place in the spotlight or get fired, or they can leave on their own and go to another team or band. Bluegrass tends to be quite fluid with personnel, and members can change often. But like Jordan leaving basketball for baseball or Tom Brady winning one more Super Bowl with the Buccaneers, iconic bluegrass bands that see founding members depart are big news. When I say Steep Canyon Rangers, you say what? When you hear Balsam Range, what's one of the first names you think of? If you said the names Woody Platt and Buddy Melton, then you catch my drift. Not long ago, both left the groups that they helped make famous. Although they did not necessarily have it in mind at the time, Woody Platt and Buddy Melton found themselves making a song together. One thing led to another, and in 2024 they cut a record. Woody Platt's 10-song collection titled Far Away With You, with Buddy featured on 3 of its songs, including the tune you're hearing now, Long Time Coming. A revolving door of bluegrass free agents show they've got game on the collection as well. Icons like Del McCoury, Jerry Douglas, and Tim O'Brien, plus heavy hitters like Rob McCoury, Brian Sutton, Jason Carter, Barry Bales, Darrell Scott, Casey Dreesen, and Shannon Whitworth, among others. Now performing as Woody Platt and the Bluegrass Gentlemen, I had the pleasure of catching up with Woody Platt and Buddy Melton at MerleFest in late April 2025. There, we gathered in one of the few quiet spots available on the festival grounds, in the band's motor coach, where we talked about how this all began, how their region is recovering from Hurricane Helene and more recently, widespread wildfires, a certain Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young cover they played live at the festival, as well as how they love to hear other players cover their songs. That and a lot more, including more music from Far Away With You. I'm your host, Joe Kendrick, welcoming you to our episode on Woody Platt and Buddy Melton on Southern Songs and Stories.
It's been a long time coming for you to call on me. Yeah, it's been a long time coming for you to call on me.
Southern Songs and Stories is a proud part of the lineup at both Public Radio WNCW and Osiris Media, the leading storyteller in music. Follow Southern Songs and Stories wherever you follow podcasts, with more at southernsongsandstories.com. You can engage with us on social media. Southern Songs and Stories is on Facebook at Southern Songs and Stories, on Instagram at South Stories, and my YouTube channel is Joe Kendrick NC. Well, good morning. Woody Platt, Buddy Melton here at MerleFest. Oh, great morning for some bluegrass and
Yeah, always a good morning for that.
and bluegrass plus, or traditional plus as Doc called it.
I like traditional plus. I'd never heard that. I like that.
How many MerleFests for you?
Oh gosh, a lot. I'd have to think about that. Well, coming to playing or just coming?
Well, both.
Yeah, dozens.
Playing at least.
Yeah, I played probably half a dozen times playing wise, but a lot more visiting and spectating.
I don't really know. For me, I'm guessing 10, 12, something like that. You know, played a lot with the Rangers, played with the Rangers and Steve, and played with Shannon a couple years ago. So probably a dozen, something like that. Enough to feel quite at home here.
Yeah, it is a nice homecoming. It really feels like that every time.
Yeah, it's always special just to get to come back and be a part of it, and it's just become such a, pinnacle of the festival scene, especially in this area. It's just such an honor to be here.
Tell us about the new record, the relatively new band. How is it being in this group?
You know, this just happened by accident, really. When I departed from Steep Canyon a few years ago, there was no plan. It wasn't like to start a new band or to start a new recording career or really anything. It was just to make a change, life change. And Buddy encouraged me to, around that time, to record a single just under my own name. And then we, it was a lot of fun making that single. And so, as time went on, decided, let's make a record. And we continue to encourage that process. And over time, really with no timeline, this Far Away With You kind of came together. And it was fun to do it without any sort of strings attached, no timeline, no rush, no concern, no worries, just a real happy place to make music.
Now that we can, talk about former bands and things, is, in bluegrass, there's a lot of transition, and it's very common for band members to switch out or to start new projects. However, you both were kind of the exception that proved the rule up until not very long ago, because, you were in Balsam Range for 15 plus
18 years.
18 years.
20 years. Yeah.
Rangers were going,
23, something like that.
that's a lot of mileage, and, kind of led to maybe a little bit more of a surprise factor with, stepping away from those projects, which are still going on, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember being, when we were in the Rangers, we sort of had this saying at some point, we just got to outlast them. Because we just watch bands sort of start playing musical chairs or, breaking up. And it's like, well, if we just stay the course and stay together, we keep our sound and our continuity. And I really respected that and was proud of that for 2 decades, but all things come to an end at some point.
Yeah, Balsam Range was different, and we didn't intend to do anything. It's kind of like this we're doing right now. We just got together. We were all from Haywood County, and we're making good music. And next thing you know, just years went by, and the snowball kept rolling, getting bigger, and so it was beautiful. But people always ask, how do you keep a band together, same members for a long time? It's kind of challenging. Everybody's got to want and need the same thing. Family's got to want and need the same thing. And we were blessed early on to all have kids same age, very similar needs, and it was fun and it was exciting, and so it just was a great thing. I'm blessed to have been a part of that for so long. And like Woody said, everything comes to end. It's more, for me, it was a lifestyle change. It's just, I was just ready to, do some new things and slow down a little bit and enjoy life. And Woody and I just happened to be enjoying life together with other things, fishing and other outdoor stuff. And we'd always bring a fiddle or guitar out during that. And we weren't intending to do anything but live life and enjoy it. And but this is part of our life. This is a big part of who we are. And I think we both realized that the grind of running up down the road was something we wanted to slow down, but music's a huge part of who we are, so let's make the most of it.
Since the a day since the day you came along. All my troubles now they're gone. It's like you washed them all away. I'm trying to say, you got me falling like the rain does. You got me burning like a flame does. It's like my heart and soul been chained up. You came along with the key that saved us. You got me falling like the rain does.
That is a bit of the song that begins Woody Platt's 2024 album, Far Away With You, Like the Rain Does, with Barry Bales on bass, Jerry Douglas on dobro, Buddy Melton on vocals, Darren Shoemaker on mandolin, Rob McCurry on banjo, and Jason Carter on fiddle. It's one of many covers on the record and stays closer to home than some of the others. Cody Hale wrote and recorded that song originally, and he lives near where Woody Platt calls home in Transylvania County, North Carolina. Platt turns Hale's original, a down-tempo country song with piano, drums, and electric guitar in the mix, into a driving, toe-tapping bluegrass jam, a far different interpretation of the original, however not that far afield musically. Other covers on the album are more far-reaching, from the Tennessee rock band Kings of Leon, their song Beautiful War. From Americana pioneers Uncle Tupelo, a take on Still Be Around. From blues great Blind Willie McTell, we get an amped-up reworking of Broke Down Engine, fleshed out with a full band, including Del McCurry on vocals. Bluegrass has evolved to be omnivorous as far as its diet of musical ingredients. Rock songs both obscure and classic, pre-war blues, country, and Americana abound in the songwriting credits for a great many string bands now. It's notable that this stands in contrast to the emphasis on original material by first-generation pioneers, but even then, Bill Monroe and Flatt and Scruggs and their contemporaries were pulling in a wide variety of influences from their own upbringing into their songbooks. They simply had no rock and roll to draw from, for example. Otherwise, I would argue that you would certainly have some of it make its way into those Columbia Records sessions in September 1946 from Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys that became the genre's blueprint. Second-generation bluegrass players that Big Mon would go on to decry as playing songs that were no part of nothing were drawing outside those lines. But in truth, Bill was drawing outside all the lines of the blueprints for string band music, blues, and jazz when he mapped out what became known as bluegrass. The style had musical appropriation encoded into its DNA. Like any new style, really, it was bound to keep pulling in other newer forms and ideas, and that's one of its key strengths. Also, something for bluegrass fans to bicker about for generations. Coming up, a conversation about covers with Woody Platt and Buddy Melton after a sampling of a song they played in their live set at MerleFest, Find the Cost of Freedom.
Find the cost of freedom buried in the ground. Mother Earth will swallow you. Lay your body down. Find the cost of freedom buried in the ground. Mother Earth will swallow you. Lay your body down.
Talking about your set yesterday, love to hear the Crosby, Stills, Nash.
Yeah. You know, I think cover songs have never been something that I've done much of. And when I was with the Rangers, we just had so many great songwriters in the band, and that was sort of like we led with the original material. And not that we're not doing that now, but yeah, just things that over your life speak to you and speak to the times, and it was fun to play that. So we're actually going to play it again today because we're on a different stage, and we feel like not enough people got to hear it. So
Good. Yeah, that brings to mind question that I ask a lot of folks is, what songs do you think we're going to be singing 100 years from now?
Well, in bluegrass, we're going to be singing a lot of the same songs. I mean, there is a well of songs that aren't going away. And I was thinking about it, I hope that some of the songs that we in our collective outfits have recorded, I hope some of those songs eventually
when they become a standard,
like a standard.
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's the case, but it would be really like a legacy kind of honor if a song that the Rangers did or that we've done on this new record or one of yours or Balsam Range becomes like a chestnut that people play.
It's always fun to see. I've over the years like international bands covering your songs, and this or a young group. You see a young group that's covering one of your original songs, and it's kind of, you've got that feel of, well, this could be a standard. That's kind of a cool thing because I grew up playing standards. That's the beauty of bluegrass, is there's this commonality that everybody can get together and know similar songs.
So that's really what you're all chasing.
Nah, we're just
no, we're not chasing it, but it would be cool if it happened organically. I mean, we've both seen these young Japanese bands cover our songs. And that's pretty flattering. But I'm ready to see the Lonesome River Band do them instead.
They're always asking, where are you going? Where is it you would like to be? Because you're a young man and you got no plan. You're just learning to be free. Wasting your time. There's so much here for you to see.
That is Walk Along With Me, a Woody Platt original from Far Away With You, with Woody's wife, Shannon Whitworth, joining on vocals. Woody Platt is from Brevard, North Carolina, while Buddy Melton calls Clyde, North Carolina home, not far away in Haywood County. Their hometowns were more or less in Helene's bullseye when it roared through the region in late September 2024. In March 2025, wildfires born of windy, dry conditions and millions of downed trees for added fuel ripped through areas struggling to recover from the hurricane. I asked how things stood in their communities in the wake of these disasters.
In Transylvania County, I would consider ourselves fairly lucky compared to the surrounding counties. Felt like we were sort of in the eye of the storm, and we caught a lot of the water, but not as much of the wind. And being in the headwaters and having sort of the national forest sort of be our buffer, I felt like we did better. We did pretty well comparatively. I think there was 70 to 80 displaced families in our community, and the community really pulled together through fundraising campaigns and temporary housing, and are trying really hard to have successfully kind of helped rehouse most of those families. And there's been a big push in recent months, recent weeks, even by Army Corps to start working on the streams and the stream banks, and that's something that I'm real passionate about. So we've seen a lot of progress there, just debris collection and then we got to get to the bank stabilization. But all in all, the post-Helene recovery is well underway in Transylvania County. And then right after that, we had that wildfire that came up from the Table Rock State Park, and it got into the southwestern side of the county, and it was sort of, I think, a little PTSD from Helene and then all the news around the other fires. People were really on edge. But it was short of a bunch of smoke and a week or so of concern. We dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, Haywood County, similar story. We got hit hard with the Helene flood damage and such, and we're still trying to recover from that, and still some displaced families, and small businesses really got hit hard. We're trying to rally around helping get some of these small businesses back up and get the economy strong again. That's a big focus right now for us in Haywood County. We dodged the fires pretty well, so we didn't really have too much other than people are on edge because it is so sensitive with all this going on. But a lot of efforts. The community came together really strongly, and we got a program called Haywood Strong. We're trying to continue to raise money, and a lot of that is for businesses and families, some, but still digging out.
Can we talk a little bit about Southern culture and where you might find yourself in the mix of what you consider, Southern aspects of your music?
Well, I mean, I think just the nature of bluegrass music, even though you find it all over the country and all over the world, it seems to have a very Southern root, and I think our style of bluegrass music, at least I know mine, was influenced by people from the South, and I'm proud to be from the South, and it's always my favorite place to play and connect with people.
Yeah, I guess telling my age, but I grew up, completely influenced by the local scene in Western North Carolina. That was before internet, and there was, you just didn't discover music the way you do now. So you were influenced by all these great local musicians and going to these dances and jams and things. And it was years before I, discovered this more national artistry. And it's once I got really bit by the bug and started really learning and wanting to learn more, I started expanding my and being exposed to outside the West North Carolina area of music. But that was I cut my teeth from local jams, and the biggest artists were at the Smoky Mountain Folk Festival or the Mountain Folk Festival. You got to see all these great artists, like Doc Watson or a David Holt and these other bands that were just really influencing all the local. And that's there is a that West North Carolina has a vibe, like Woody's talking about. Our form of it has influences of that, the energy of it.
It's interesting, like over in Buddy's area, Raymond Fairchild is
Right,
like an iconic. And then in our town, there was a guy named Roy Chapman and Joe Byers. And when I was a kid, they did a square dance just across the street from our house every Tuesday night or Thursday night at this, basically on this basketball court outside. And all the community would come, they'd do a square dance. And we would walk over there. And I don't really ever remember really paying attention to the music, but it was bluegrass, and it was just you hear it, And then later I got to know those guys, and then sort of followed them around a little bit. So it's neat how within your communities there's just a little pocket, and there's a style that they have. And I ended up working with a couple guys you've probably heard of, Bobby Powell and Timmy Jones. They had a band called Carolina Blue, and they learned under this guy. And they had this style that I call it like the Transylvania County style. And there's probably
I had Mark Pruitt. It's kind of interesting. I was a kid, watching Mark Pruitt going to, Bill Stanley's and the Mark Pruitt band, and then years later playing with him, and but I grew up listening to that and then ended up playing with that. So you definitely, you felt comfortable to jump in that because it was just all I'd heard.
I remember going to Bill Stanley's and falling asleep on the table. My parents drugged me over there like in second or third grade. I was passed out on the table while Mark Pruitt's playing there, clogging the whole thing.
Wow. Yeah, we should give a shout out for Mark. I mean, you look at him and he looks like a teddy bear, but he's tough as nails, because I'll never forget him breaking his wrist and then playing the show.
Oh, I was there. Yeah, I watched him fall.
First time I saw y'all, he fell over a monitor up in.
Oh, that was he fell for like 15 minutes up there.
What happened?
He backed up, hit a monitor.
There was
and
a back
slow
line
motion
monitor.
fall.
Yeah, he was back. There's a monitor on the back line, and he was just backing up, and he just backed into it, and he started falling. I swear he fell for 15 minutes. He didn't get as bad hurt as he did in California when he fell on that stage up there and during rehearsal, and nobody knew he broke it. But he had some surgery after that one.
Saying goodbye for now with the song One Last Goodbye by Woody Platt from Far Away With You, with Buddy Melton on vocals and joined by Barry Bales, Jerry Douglas, Jason Carter, and Rob McCurry. Thank you for listening. and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Woody Platt and Buddy Melton have now made their second appearances on this series, having been featured in earlier podcasts on their bands Steep Canyon Rangers and Balsam Range, respectively. You can check out over 150 episodes of Southern Songs and Stories anytime for free, anywhere you find podcasts, and at my website, southernsongandstories.com, where there are many more articles and photos to go along with these episodes. Drop me a line at southernsongandstories@gmail.com, where I welcome your thoughts and comments, and you can follow us on social media as well, at South Stories on Instagram, at Southern Songs and Stories on Facebook, and now on Substack, where you can read the scripts and transcripts of these podcasts and get updates on what we're doing and planning in our quest to explore and celebrate the unfolding history and culture of music rooted in the American South and going beyond to the styles and artists that it inspired and informed. This series is a part of the lineup of both Public Radio WNCW and Osiris Media, with all the Osiris shows available at osirispod.com. You can also hear new episodes on Bluegrass Planet Radio at bluegrassplanetradio.com. Thanks to Jacqueline Anthony for producing the radio adaptations of this series on Public Radio WNCW, where we worked with Joshua Ming, who wrote and performed our theme songs. I'm your host and producer, Joe Kendrick, and this is Southern Songs and Stories, the music of the South and the artists who make it.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to change your mind. I just want to lay beside you one last time. Whisper soft your liar's lullaby. Leave your pillow cold at morning light. Whisper soft your liar's lullaby. Leave your pillow cold at morning light. One last goodbye. One last goodbye.